Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft Vanilla Amplified server. It is good to be back and check out this crazy amplified terrain. Of course I'm joking around, this is the roof of the Nether. In the end of the last episode we built ourselves a gold and XP farm way up there in the sky. It was a lot of fun, but check this out, Paying attention, did you see that? We have 111 levels of XP. That is absolutely insane, and that was just from a small amount of farming with this thing right here. If you think about it, that's over 20 enchants that we could go back into the overworld and just do in a row without having to go back to an XP farm, which makes this thing ridiculously overpowered, and it's going to be really useful for us because we can just use this thing kind of AFK and it will get us tons and tons of XP, which is just amazing. So in this episode we're going to go up there and finish this thing off because I've been working on it in between episodes. I've been placing down so many half slabs, it has been crazy. I haven't fallen off yet, which is a miracle it feels like. And there are a couple of problems with this thing. So we're going to go up there, we're going to talk about what needs to be done, I'm going to show you it in action again, and we're going to have a look at a couple of the flaws that we have with this thing as well. But I just want to mention again that this concept was made by Twitch Nitro. Be sure to check him out if you didn't last time. I just feel like the community this time kind of let him down because no one is mentioning that this guy discovered it, and I think it's very important to credit people when they come up with these things. And at least that's the first place that I saw it, and his video seemed very genuine. His discovery seemed like, you know, he had kind of accidentally stumbled upon it. Yes, we have tons and tons of gold. Check this out. These things drop swords. That's going to be a problem. That's one of the things that we need to fix. But we'll come back to that later. As you can see, this thing is clearly working. However, it does have a couple of flaws down here. So we're going to come back to that and talk about that in a moment. Because first of all, I need to show you my progress, and I'll show you this thing in action, and if we do it that way you'll be able to see the flaws that it has in action as well, which seems to make a lot more sense. So have a look at this. These spawning platforms are now absolutely massive, and we've got a bridge across to go and have a look at them. Now sometimes when I place these, well, it did it right there, you go, they disappear, and that has been driving me nuts because I actually fell once, and as soon as I fell I just dropped and kind of went round to the side and landed in the vines at the bottom. So that turned out to be a very good idea, but now when I place them I kind of wait and make sure that they don't disappear. There we go, this seems to be okay. That one disappeared right as I was about to give it a go. That is really bad that it does that. So yeah, anyway, while I've been building this, the pigmen have obviously been walking in front of me, but it feels like whenever you place new slabs down, that the ones from above like to drop down onto it, and that has been a little bit crazy. So over here in the corners, I've just made this shape to kind of mark off where the platform is going to go. That goes all the way up to the top, and then on one of these sides we've actually curved it round because the entire thing is just a big circle, really. That's all it is, and it's not this side over here. Of course it's going to be the last side that we go to. These blocks are left over from where I captured a pigman to use this farm with. So this side you can see it's curved, and then that circular effect around the player is basically going to maximize the spawning area because it's going to capture the distance that they can spawn at. So what we have to do when we do this, and you always got to check, these guys just walk around in circles all day. You got to check that there's no pigmen around when you're, using your axe and other things as well. So we want to capture a pigman. This guy's standing still. How about you be our test dummy? This is often really difficult. You place down a couple of these slabs and then they wander off. Come on. Yeah, we did it. Awesome. That is actually really rare that that happens. And so now what we want to do is head back over to the central area and we can activate the farm. So as I showed you in the last video, this thing is automatic. It's going to take advantage of their AI and kind of run this thing continuously around the clock. And I've done a few tests as I've been building it. I did it at different stages where the platforms are being expanded, and you could really see the effect it was having because it would last for longer and longer. And this guy, actually, he's not going to be much of a pain. We're just going to nudge you off of there. Goodbye. That was cruel. And then we're going to place these slabs. And now we're good. I always like to double check, just make sure I haven't left a pathway for them to get over here, but we are fine. So the next thing for us to do is to hit this guy with our bow. I've only got 2 arrows left, so we've got to make it count. What we really need up here is something like snowballs to hit them with. And that guy's going to walk right in front. There we go. So that guy's captured. He's not going anywhere. He's now aggressive, and my sound is turned off. That's probably a good thing at this point. Let's just turn it up a tiny bit. There you go, now you can hear all of the pigmen dying. Wow, this thing is absolutely crazy. It really is. So he's there, he's aggressive. When new pigmen spawn, they're just going to head all the way over here to the middle. So we can see it's calling in some zombies as well. And if you look around here, you can kind of see groups of pigmen just moving in. And that's where they've like freshly spawned in a group. And this thing is just going to continuously go. It'd be nice to capture a spawn on camera. You know, you can see some coming over from the back there, but it'd be nice to see some actually spawning in and becoming aggressive. We just saw a zombie over there. And this is it, this is the farm. What you're supposed to do is stand here and collect all of the stuff, and you can see tons of XP is coming up at the moment. But I do think this thing actually is a little lossy, and I think I know why as well. But we do get some XP, and a lot of it gets lost, basically, is the problem. So these guys are just going to continuously come down. These ones right here are not the ones we started off with. Look at how many are coming around from that side. This farm is just absolutely amazing. So one of the reasons you need a name tag, like I mentioned in the last video, is so you can name tag your aggressive guy and he will never despawn, because after a while this guy will despawn. I'm not sure if he's outside of the despawn range, or at least inside it, or the whatever that is, you know what I'm talking about. But there is the vanishing entities problem in 1.8, so that could be a thing that's causing it not to work. And this is it, you just stand here and they keep coming down. It's absolutely crazy. I kind of want to stand here for a little bit longer because we're on a good run at the moment. You can see we're getting tons of spawns, and now I think I'm messing up their pathfinding a little bit. Let's stand back down here again. It's so good, this farm, it really is. It's absolutely amazing. We've got tons of XP in our face. That is awesome. Anyway, let's go down below and have a look at some of the floors. In fact, I think I'm going to kill that guy over there so they stop spawning. In fact, I should make sure I do that, because these guys can fall off the edges in places, and that can be one of the problems. They can land on the area down below, and then when you head down they're aggressive, and that's bad because then they're going to attack you. This farm is too overpowered. I know it's just been a couple of minutes, but I don't know, the end of this isn't in sight, although it does seem like their numbers are dwindling down. They just keep respawning, so what we need to do is actually head down here, and this is why it could be dangerous. Now, I don't have a bow, so I can't shoot that guy off, or at least I don't have an arrow, and he is aggressive at me. See, this is the problem right here. As soon as I stand on this platform down below, he could drop on top of me, which would be very, very bad. So, problem number one, the chickens can get into this side over here. Oh, look at that. Our XP's kind of dropping back down. Actually, that's possibly because I'm not up there at the top to collect it. But this is another problem. The XP tends to get caught down the bottom here, so I can stand here and collect quite a lot. That is scary. What are they doing? They're pushing each other off the edge. This is another problem that I'm really worried about. Oh my god, this is absolutely crazy. They're trying to pathfind to me still, and now they're falling off the edge here. So the edges is another problem. We better get away from here. This is going to be dangerous. This is going to end badly. Let's go down a little bit so they can despawn. And now there's tons of them at the bottom that are aggressive because they've landed in the vines. And he just went through to the overworld. Okay. This could be really bad. I think we need to go down here a little bit. Look at this, they're tracking me. I did not expect to have such an adventure trying to show you this. Okay, they can't climb the ladder, or can they? Anyway, let's head back up. So when we go back up the top, hopefully they have despawned up there, and then these guys down the bottom will despawn as well. Oh, so yeah, one of the things they might do is land on the edges of the thing below. So I'm thinking what I might do is build like a wall of glass or possibly fence posts around this thing to keep them in that central area, and hopefully they'll still be able to pathfind if I do that as well. So I'll probably test that out in a creative world or something like that. Anyway, okay, so we got some problems to talk about up the top here. I know the solutions for some of them, but not all of them. So, are we good? Probably not. There's a guy standing there. I don't like this. They're still up there. I've got a real problem on my hands, haven't I? Yeah, okay, right. What we're going to do is go down and take care of the guys at the bottom first of all. Look at this. I'm slightly out of range and I can hit them. This is going to be nice and easy now. Okay, cool. So I think I just saw one over there. I'm going to be super cautious. We're going to move away from this area and we're going to make all the ones up the top despawn. And look at all this gold that they've been dropping. And XP as well. It's absolutely crazy, this thing. So now we appear to be safe. The last time I came up here they were still aggressive, so I had to travel a long way away. But now we can talk about the flaws with this thing. So first of all, some of the pigmen actually survived the drop down here, and I'm not sure if this glass and slime block are actually going to crush them. I know the glass won't, maybe the slime block will, but possibly what we could do to solve that is replace the glass block at the top with a solid block. So that's something that we'll have to try. Another problem is with the XP. It seems to get caught down the bottom here. You can see that from all the way up the top, and one of the things that is different here is that this was packed ice before. So I think the ice might help the XP go across. I know that other entities like mobs don't do, but I've never tested it with ice, so that could be a thing. It could get pushed across a lot easier and more of the XP will make its way to the top, because at the moment it is a little bit inefficient. And then the other problem that we have, basically we've got 3 in total, is, well actually we've got 4, but we've already talked about the other one. We'll talk about that again in a second. And the other one is with this thing right here. It's filling up with rotted flesh, and the main thing being swords. You can see my inventory is full of them. What I was thinking is, rather than filtering out the items that we don't want, what we'll do is we'll filter the items that we want to keep. So we'd keep all the gold nuggets, gold ingots, and then everything else would just go to the end of the line and get dispensed out into the void, where it could despawn down below, or possibly we could place some lava on the other side. So we got a reasonable solution for that. The other two are going to be a little bit experimental. We got to visit a ice biome, which would be something we could do later in the episode, and also we could set up a portal for that as well, so it would be useful for other people if they're looking to get some ice or packed ice as well. And so the fourth problem that we got to correct is up the top here. I've got to experiment with it and see what we can do, but I'm thinking that around the edges here what we want to do is place down some fence posts or glass, and if we can do that, if we can create a wall, then they're not going to fall down the middle here and potentially fall on the platform down below, which is going to be a very good thing. But before we do any of that, I'm going to finish doing these platforms. I showed you what I'd done earlier. I'm going to finish making it a circle around the whole way round, because we want to finish this farm today in this episode, and it's going to take me a long time. I've got to grow a lot more trees. I can tell you now, this is not going to do it. This thing uses up a huge amount of half slabs. In fact, what I'll probably do is download a backup of the world when we're done with this farm, and I'll use MCEdit to count the amount of half slabs, because that'll be very interesting to know. That's right, I've got 60 levels of XP. I died twice. I'm not happy about it. I'm joking, of course. I'm fine with it. Deaths happen in this game, you know. It's one of those things you're not going to be bothered about by too much. And if you think about it, building a farm like this all the way up in the sky when you've just started on the server, it's probably pretty good that I only died twice doing this. But the first death was pretty rubbish. I was placing a half slab and it lowered itself down as I moved across it, and then I fell down to the ground and died. And the second time I was trying to remove some blocks, a pigman jumped out in front of me. I hit it and I had to throw myself off the edge so these guys wouldn't kill me and take my gear. So all in all, it's actually been pretty good. I think 2 deaths is alright, as I said, but I have now finished extending all of the platforms. That took a ridiculous amount of time. I think my axe is testament to the amount of trees that I've been chopping down to get this material. But as you can see, I've also added this ridge going around the inside here, and this has actually been really great. It stopped any of the pigmen coming off the edges, and it's not interfering with their AI. And the reason I think it doesn't interfere with their AI is because I've left a 1 block gap here, so they should be able to see me through that. And I just did a test. I stood here for a while. I even went back down to the bottom and back up again, and they were still aggressive. However, we don't have, you know, a captured pigman to stay aggressive, so at the moment they have stopped. But down the bottom here we have these guys, and they're going to help us find out if we can solve another problem, because we've just solved the one with the pigman falling down onto this platform down here. So what we want to do is replace that block there with a solid block. You can see the slime ones are not going to hurt them, so if we break that, then when it comes back, there's actually quite a few of them there. I thought there was only 2. Now it should crush them. Yes, excellent. So we've solved yet another problem. Right, well, the next thing for us to do is with this block right here. I've just noticed something. When it moves that block up and down, there's a slime block next to it, but it's not like that one becomes attached to that one there. I've got a feeling it's not supposed to work like that. Anyway, the next thing for us to do is to get some packed ice, because we want to put some of that down right there and see if that helps with the XP. And I think once I've done that, what I'm going to do is bring my camera account on and actually have it sit down the bottom here and watch what's happening, so we can kind of observe it and then figure out if that's fixing the problem or if it's not really making too much difference. But anyway, our next job is actually to leave this place and to use the nether to create a portal to a packed ice biome, which is going to be an interesting sight in Amplified. If you think about it, they are going to look a lot different than normal, and actually now that I think about it, I can't wait to see them. So I'm digging a tunnel in the nether, and it is taking a long time. I've gone through all of this pick right here, so we have to make another one, and DMAC came along and he fixed the problem over here, by the way. As I speculated, what's happening here is that you can have bookshelves at this height and this height here that will interact with the enchanting table in the middle, and if you put an item at this height or this height, it will actually block off the connection from either of them going to the enchanting table. So that's why it didn't work. He's lowered it down by a block and put a crafting table there. So let's do an enchant quickly on camera. 1, 2, 3. No, you don't put diamonds in there, you put lapis in there. Wow, what was I thinking? Efficiency 4, what could it be? It is with unbreaking. That's not so bad actually. That's good for working in the nether, so I'm happy with that one. So I've just stepped out into the new terrain and I can see some packed ice. This could be pretty crazy. This is a packed ice biome. That is very, very tall. I'm not sure how tall they actually went in the regular terrain. Never really went and explored one on the old Hermitcraft world. What we're going to do is climb up this hill here and see if there's anything to see. Also, these are full snow blocks. Normally in the extreme hills biomes you just see the snow layers on top, but this thing generates with full snow blocks, which is interesting. Look at that over there. They are some tall ice spikes kind of hugging the side of the mountain. That is absolutely crazy. Look at how tall that is. And oh, look at that over there. Let's go and get a better view of that. That looks really interesting. That one goes ever so high. Those are pretty high as well. But look at that. That's all kind of jumbled, isn't it? It's all sort of broken apart. That's very strange, but it goes all the way up to the floating island up the top there. That must be something to do with how it generates the ice spikes, and because there's land all the way up there in the sky, it's kind of creating these odd blocks. And there's another one over there. That is interesting. And there's some lava behind it as well. Well, I'm sure there's lots of spectacular sights to see around here, like that. That looks so bizarre with all of those blocks just going up. And there's another one over there. Wow. I'm going to have to do some exploring of this sometime, that's for sure. But as of right now, I think what I really need to do is just grab some packed ice and get back to the farm, because we've got a lot of work to do over there. But wow, exploring in Amplified is always interesting, isn't it? So I came all the way out here without a Silk Touch pick. I thought they changed this so that you could just pick it up with a regular pick, but apparently not. Anyway, I do have Silk Touch on my axe over here, and look at this. It is not particularly fast, but it's not really that slow either, so I don't mind picking it up with the axe while we're out here, because it is a very long journey. But I'm going to pick up a fair amount. I think I'll probably just take down this chunk of packed ice right here. We only need one for the farm, but it seems to make sense to pick some up and take them back to the base while we're here. So I'm going to do that, and I'll meet you back over at the gold farm. Now that we have our packed ice, it was time to use it on the farm, and what I've done here is I put my camera account in game mode free so it doesn't interact in the world, just above where the XP is, so we can observe what's happening. Well, when we don't have the ice, you can see there's tons of XP. It's sort of going out all over the place. So after recording a little bit of that, I swapped it over to packed ice, and then when we started recording again, at first it felt like, you know, the XP was still down there, but after comparing it to the original footage, you can see that actually the XP is going across onto the other side a lot more efficiently, and I could feel that up the top as well. It definitely felt like more XP was getting to me, and so it seems like this did make the difference. And Snow Crash actually left a comment on the previous video as well, saying that the ice would make a difference and that it would help the XP get across. So it still looks like it's got a couple of inefficiencies, but it's definitely making a much better difference of getting the XP over. So that is another problem solved, at least for now, and now we'll move on to the item filter. So before we just run in there and start building this thing, I've been looking at it and thinking about where this is going to go. Now, an important thing to notice here is that there's 2 rows of hoppers. That's pretty obvious, but I've been thinking about the reason why. I do believe it's so we can pick up the items quicker, because this hopper right here is the only one that can pick it up, and it's going to put items into the one in front of it, but the one below it can pull them out as well. So that means it's going to be able to pick up the items a little bit quicker. So then they're all going to head over into these chests, and I think we'd be safe to put our item filters underneath these ones without having any kind of problem with the flow of the items, if that makes sense. However, I have been wondering, what should these ones right here point into? Because at the moment they come across, and this one right here points into the chest, and then it doesn't continue across because these other ones point into these chests, which means the items coming across the top go into these ones. However, all of them pull down below. It's a little bit confusing, and I've just got to think about the logistics of it. But as I take it apart and build an item filter, it should become very apparent as to how we're going to do that. So another thing that's going to happen here is this platform will probably be lowered, because the item filter is going to go under these 2 rows of hoppers. And I've got to do something with all of these items. I've got a feeling I'm going to chuck most of this. I'll probably take out the gold nuggets and then just destroy the chests and let the items fall down and despawn, because a lot of this stuff we don't need. However, I have noticed that you get looting on the occasional sword, and that might be useful. So I'm going to have to check all the enchantments, and I'm probably going to keep the ones with looting on, like this one right here. So it's happened. Death number 3 has occurred. I was making my way down this ladder to the bottom, and I just felt like dropping into the vines instead of using the ladder like I always do. And of course, when I landed on the vines, they didn't break my full damage, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about this little setup right here. I have been busy on my server in the creative world just trying to figure out how this was going to work, and I found out something interesting, because I decided to do some testing with the 2 rows of hoppers to see if they made a difference, and it turns out that they didn't. So imagine that this row right here is pointing across like this one is right here. All of the items are going to come into this one first of all. That means they can go this way and they can go that way as well. But the thing is, at the next point, this one's going to point into that one, and that one's going to pull from the one above it. And it seems like it pulls as a priority to having items go into it. So it means that the hoppers here just create a buffer of about 5 to 10 stacks, I think, and then it just acts like a single row of hoppers. So having 2 rows was pointless, that's why I removed the other one there. And then I've set up this item filter right here. So we have 3 item filters, and if you look at this, the chests are not aligned with the item filters. That is actually deliberate. So this item filter on the side is going to have rotted flesh. At the moment there's cobblestone in there because I don't have enough to make the filter. Well, actually, what I could do is, if I put enough cobblestone in the back, I could just have the rotted flesh at the front. But I'll set it up properly in a moment. So underneath here we have a dispenser somewhere. I can break a couple of these blocks and kind of show it to you. This one is the dispenser. This signal right here has a torch on the other side through the comparator. So, well, I'm breaking it all apart now. So when that becomes unpowered, this clock activates here on the side. There's a torch underneath there, and then that activates the dispenser. So we have a filter to pull out the rotted flesh and dispose of it. Then the next one is going to have gold. Then after that we're going to have gold nuggets. And then we're going to have this chest as a kind of overflow thing, because getting looting from the pigman might actually be a good thing early on in the game. So I thought we'll let the swords collect up in this chest, and then you can have a look through them and throw them away after. And then at the very end here we've got the same thing that we had over on this side with the dispenser, and it just gets rid of all the extra items, and that is a system. I think there is one more thing that I might build at some point over here, and that's an automated disposal system for this chest right here. So you could have a look inside and say, oh yeah, I don't need any of them, then just press a button and it will start disposing the items. But as of right now, I have not done that. And this thing does have a couple of flaws, by the way. You see we have 2 lots of chests. Well, the hopper that points into the chest underneath is also powered by the redstone torch that points them into this one. So if I right click down here, you can see that an item is going to get caught in that one, and the one behind there is going to have one as well, and it's going to prioritize this chest down here. So the items are going to go into the bottom chest first of all, then that's going to fill up and the hopper behind it will fill up before this chest at the top does. But since you can access the hopper at the back, I figured it's not the worst of things. And even if that thing didn't get powered by redstone, now that I think about it, it would back up anyway. So that is the system, and that is kind of everything done with this farm, I do believe. We have one more job to do, and that requires a name tag. We need to capture a zombie up the top. We need to give him a name tag so he doesn't despawn, and then we can throw snowballs at him to make him aggressive. And then whenever you come to the farm, because that guy's there, he won't despawn, he's already aggressive, the farm is just going to run without you doing anything. So we're almost there now. We really are. It has taken a long time to get all of this done, but it is exciting because we are going to have a ridiculous amount of XP by the time this episode is over. So I will go up there and capture that pigman, and we're going to start this farm off together. So this is kind of it. Moment of truth. We can't really turn back now. We're about to activate this farm, and we're going to activate it permanently because this guy will be standing here with a name tag. But I decided to bring this guy over to this area. Whenever you place down a new path, they always seem to wander into it. So I made a little pathway across here, and what would you know, one ran and came all the way down here. So we've captured this guy, and a cool thing about him being nearby as well is that we could always just remove the block below him to get rid of him. He'd fall to his death, and hopefully we won't have to do that because it would be a waste of a name tag. But here we go. Isn't right clicking on you supposed to? Maybe you have to rename them now. That might be it. I want to hop up top and try from up here as well, just in case. Yeah, I've got a feeling you actually have to rename the name tag now. I didn't really want to give this guy a name, but I guess I've got something to think of while I head over to an anvil, which will be all the way back at town. So we've got to go back to the overworld. So of course when I came back up here the guy had despawned. Took me ages to get another one to come over here, but finally we did, and I decided to name this guy Nitro after Twitch Nitro, who found this awesome little exploit and turned it into a farm. So there you go, that's going to be this fella's name. Hopefully I haven't forgot anything because we're now going to activate the farm. So that's it, he's now aggressive, and I was just thinking it was probably good that I made this guy primarily aggressive rather than one of the other ones. I've got a feeling if he was aggressive because of one of the other ones, he might not actually be aggressive at me. I don't know if that would really affect the farm. There's a lot of strange stuff with how the zombie pigman aggression works. If you watch the video that I did on it, a lot of it doesn't make that much sense, or the logic behind it. Anyway, it's time for me to stand here and get lots and lots of XP. I'm going to spend as much time here as I can before I have to record the end of this video, and we're going to see how much XP we can actually get from this thing. So this farm's been running for a long time. We're up to 155. I put a load of my armor and stuff in there, well basically all of my items, because I was fearful that when AFK, you know, something might happen. But the farm seems to have stopped working, and at first I looked around and I thought maybe there's so many magma cubes the pigmen have stopped spawning. But here's the thing, this guy over here has become unaggressive. Actually no, I don't think he has, because he's still looking at me. Actually no, I think that's just their regular AI right there. Okay, so he's become unaggressive, that stopped the farm. But there's tons and tons of magma cubes up here. And I guess if they become unaggressive after some farming, you could go out and kill these guys as well, which will be pretty good. We'll have to do that sometime, but I'm not going to risk that today. I'm going to continue farming, going to try and get up to level 200. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it. 200 levels of XP. That's absolutely amazing. I never thought we'd be able to do that in this game, but there you go. It's been done in vanilla Minecraft, and it's so easy to do earlier on. If you're watching this and thinking, I would like to try that, give it a go. This farm is absolutely amazing. Look at all the gold that we got from this so far. That is a ridiculous amount, and there are chests full of it up the top there. I am really happy with how this turned out. But that is it for this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like. It will always be appreciated, and I will catch you in the next episode. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.